I'm Olivia Sugdon. I live in Steepley in Buckinghamshire, which is just down the road from Addington. Everybody knows that as a competition venue. This is Hector. Hector is 14 years old. He's a Dutch warmblood, and I bought him as a foal, 6 months old, out of field off an advert in the UK. Hector has been an amazing horse for me. He's been extremely challenging to ride and train. And as a young horse, I sent him away because I'm not the bravest, and he was a little bit tricky in the beginning. I got him back as a 5-year-old with the intention of selling him, and to be honest, he was going through a very gangly stage. Nobody really wanted to buy him, and so I decided to ride and train him through that winter. And then I've just kept riding him. He's taught me a lot, and sometimes training the most challenging is where you learn the most. But along the way, he's always been quite tricky. He's extremely sensitive. Whatever you think you'll do training wise, you basically do the opposite, and that works for him. So a few years ago, I started to have a couple of issues with Hector performance wise, and after some investigation at the vets, I spent a bit of time at Newmarket. They discovered that he has a sort of long-term back issue, and we've managed this. Like many sports horses, he has to be managed through the year, and he was doing really well up until the regionals last year, and he was there at PSG into one, and he just felt a little bit off, so I booked him into the vets for a review. I thought it was about time to have his back looked at again, and unfortunately, he had a reaction to some haylage, and ended up being delayed going to Newmarket, and then he was due in the day after lockdown. So I had a terrible year last year, along with many other people, not just the global pandemic, but because his condition worsened drastically through that first lockdown. Eventually, he became unrideable in that space of time. And when I got him back to the vets, he had to have 2 trips back in quick succession to essentially medicate areas of his back, the area under the saddle being worse. For those of you that know me and have known Hector for many years, he's never really had much of a wither, and suddenly during this time, his whole back just dropped. I lost all the muscles on the top line, and we started a very long period of rehab. I actually didn't think he was going to come back. I thought that was it, we'd have to retire him. The vets were quite sort of cagey as to what they thought would happen, and so when I was chatting to Alex one day, she was telling me about Equinety that she's involved with, and I thought that I would try it. He's, as the flow goes with Hector, a little bit tricky to feed. He's a bit lazy sharp to ride, and can throw some moves. And so I don't like to pump lots of things into him. And Equinety was great because not only is it a small scoop and he doesn't get much hard feed, and he won't eat chaff, so I can't bulk it out and lose supplements. He eats it, and there are many supplements that I've tried where I spent 30 quid on a bag of feed and he just down tools and won't have anything to do with it. So that was the first bonus. Second bonus was the scoop was really small, and then thirdly, I just noticed that with a number of weeks I was really starting to gain muscle. So he'd been through this rehab program where I was back riding, trying to get back to advanced level. The work was becoming more serious with the lateral movements, back to doing changes and all those sorts of things that you need to do to get back up and fit for the regionals. And it was just really helpful. I actually stopped feeding him any other supplements or any feed, well really a feed balancer, and I've just stuck with the performance mix that he's on, plus the Equinety. I find that he has good energy levels throughout the session, and that his muscle has really come back. We actually went back to the vets just very recently for a review, and the vet was pretty astounded about how he looked, how the condition was, how he palpated through his back, and obviously, rehab's a long process and there's a lot to take to build up muscle. But in my opinion, I'd say that the Equinety really advanced that muscle recovery. And when you ride them at the higher levels, you put a lot of strain through their muscles, and I noticed that the recovery between sessions has also been much quicker. and I can do more in a week, which is really helpful when you're trying to build muscle and get back to where you were before.